I added all drivers to their 2023 teams, put every car to equal performance, and created an elimination style tournament. Who is the best and most consistent qualifier in 2023? Stay tuned to find out. My name is Chris, welcome back to CFRacing, and enjoy the video. Hey everybody, what's going on? Chris here, otherwise known as CFRacing, and today everybody, I have a fun little series that I'm going to be starting just every once in a while on the channel, and this is sort of an elimination style tournament, bracket, or whatever you really want to call it. If you like Formula 1 simulation content, then this is the place for you to be, and if you want to see more from me, go check out all my links in the description. Go check out my Twitter, Discord. We're almost at 1,000 members. I'd love it if you guys can join there. It's a great place to hang out and talk F1 with other Formula 1 related fans. Also, can join my Instagram, and also don't forget, subscribe, hit that like button, share with your friends, and comment down below which driver you guys have being the most consistent and I guess winning this qualifying tournament. How these tournaments are going to work is that I'm going to be making a 19 race calendar in the F1 game. Really doesn't matter what races you go to, and I can set the weather to maybe random. I can set it to wet weather like monsoon weather, I can set it to dry, day, night, or whatever it is. I can do it for every single one, so I can do a whole bunch of different tournaments in the future if I really want. But what's going to happen is that whoever qualifies last in that respective session will be eliminated until we get up to position 1. For example, if Nick de Vries qualifies P20, then he'll be out. Once you get eliminated, you're no longer available to really move up in the points or whatever. That's where you finish. If you finish P20 in the first race, you're coming in last, but you can still compete and foil other people's plans. So let's just say, for example, Logan Sargent finishes P20 in the next qualifying and Nick de Vries is 19th, then Logan Sargent is out, and then so on and so forth up until we get pretty much up until number 1. Hopefully that's not too confusing. I'm sure you guys will understand as the video goes along, and I have a lot of plans for this series. It looks like a lot. It's honestly a lot of fun to make, and really I enjoy tournaments and stuff. I'm very competitive. So that being said, let's get into race 1. In Bahrain, finishing in P20, we have his first ever race actually in Formula 1. It is Oscar Piastri, as he put a 1:29.781 on the board. Honestly, quite a good lap time. He was just over a second behind first place, and honestly very close between them both, like very close between P20 and P19, but sadly Oscar Piastri is in last. P19 is Nick de Vries, as he was just under 1 second away from first place, which honestly, once again, he did a pretty solid job. It's just he did not do a good enough job. I'm sure I told you guys, but all the cars are equal in this, so this is just strictly driver performance only, and Nick de Vries in P19. P18, a little bit of an upset here. This is Alexander Albon in Australia, as he put a 1:18.977, which is quite a respectable lap time, and it only was 8.5 tenths behind first place, but he does end up finishing lowest out of the people still remaining in this tournament. So Alexander Albon in P18. P17, Alexander Albon's rookie teammate Logan Sargent putting up a pretty solid performance in Baku. He did end up beating his teammate, which is good. I did not expect that. Sargent put up a 1:41.615, 1.021 seconds behind first place. Pretty respectable result for Logan Sargent in his first season in Formula 1. This is a little bit of an upset. I expected Kevin Magnussen to perform a little bit better, and Kevin Magnussen actually finished in P16 in Miami. He was exactly 1 second off the pace. I believe I lost the picture for this. Kevin Magnussen was exactly 1 second off the pace, and honestly not a bad lap time as well. It's just not as good as all the others who are still in this competition. So Kevin Magnussen, hopefully you do better. Hopefully Gunther Steiner doesn't smash your door. You finish in P16. P15, we have ZHOU GUANYU, and I completely lost the picture for this, or I forgot to take a picture of this, but here in Imola, ZHOU finished in 15th. He was the lowest qualifier out of those who are left in this competition. Sadly, he finishes P15, but honestly, still quite respectable considering his stats in the game are not very good. P14 in Monaco, we have YUKI Tsunoda. He put a 1:12.283 in all equal machinery, which is a pretty solid lap, and he was only 7.5 tenths behind the leader. You guys will see later, but like 7.5 tenths, that is pretty good, and most and in most circumstances, that would be good enough to move you on to the next round. But right now, it has YUKI Tsunoda in P14. P13, also in Monaco for some reason. I think the game glitched out and put Monaco as a second race, and also I wasn't able to take a screenshot of this one. I really don't know what happened here, but Esteban Ocon finished P13. He was the lowest out of all the qualifiers. That is quite unfortunate for Esteban. I wish I had proof of this, but he finishes 13th. Sorry to say, like, I mean, it's 13th. That's just how it is. I think the game just glitched out or something. It was weird. Monaco back-to-back. I didn't schedule it like that. Major upset here. P12 in Spain is Charles Leclerc. I'm sure he was probably one of the favorites to win this whole qualifying tournament. Charles put a 118.236, was only 0.361 off the pace. I believe set by Max Verstappen or something in equal cars. But he's out. He was the lowest out of the 12 people remaining, which is honestly mind-baffling considering this is 12th. But Leclerc, 12th, big upset, huge upset for Ferrari. P11 in Monaco again for some reason. Like I said, I think the game just glitched out. Is Lance Stroll. I do have a picture for this one. He did a 1:12.254 and he did a 0.869. Nice off the pace. Lance Stroll, P11. Pretty solid performance for Lance. I did expect him to finish around the P15, 16, 17 range, but P11 almost cracking the top 10. P10, sort of an upset here because I know a lot of you guys think Bottas is one of the best qualifiers out there. But Bottas in P10 in Austria, he was only 4.5 tenths off the pace. He did a pretty solid job, but once again, the other 9 ahead of him just performed better. And that's really what it's going to come down to in this top 10 is who will be consistent enough to make the top 3. We really don't know, but let's see who's in P9. P9 in Silverstone, we have Fernando Alonso, and it was a wet session here, and Alonso did not have a good lap. He was 1.9 seconds off the pace. Don't really know what happened there. He just could not get his wet tires or intermediate tires to work. Alonso, I mean, I did expect a little bit more from him, but P9 is still respectable in an Aston Martin, even though it is equal cars, but good job, Fernando. P8 in Hungary, we have Carlos Sainz, and once again, no image in this picture because I forgot to take one. I'm going to be honest. I forgot to take one. But it is Carlos Sainz. He is in a P8. Not a very good showing for both Ferrari drivers. Leclerc in 12th. Carlos Sainz in 8th. I really did expect a lot more from both of them, especially considering we know how good and consistent Sainz is and how good Charles Leclerc is at qualifying. But Carlos Sainz, P8. Okay, good job. That's just where you land in this tournament. In P7, we have NICO Hulkenberg. He had a very, very underrated performance here, finishing P7 in the qualifying consistency elimination tournament. This was in Spa. I believe it was a wet session because his lap time's a 156.0. So yeah, he was about 9 tenths off the pace. Pretty respectable. Nico Hulkenberg finishing P7. Good job for Haas. I am sure Gunther Steiner is going to be happy. In P6, a little bit of an upset here, or maybe not, depends how you rate Sergio Perez, but in Netherlands, Sergio Perez was about 4.5 seconds, was about 4 tenths off the pace here. He finishes in P6, very close to making the top 5. He did do better than both Ferrari drivers, but I don't really have much else to say about Perez. He just finished P6. It's just an average performance, I'd say, from him. Entering the top 5, we have Lewis Hamilton here in Monza. He was about 4.5 tenths off the pace, sort of just like Perez was. You can really see as we get down to the top end of the drivers here, they're all very, very close, and who knows what will really happen once we get in the top 4, but I expected Lewis Hamilton to do a lot better than 5th. I mean, I did expect Leclerc to do a lot better than 12th, but Hamilton in 5th, he was one of my top 3 picks. He's in 5th, so not terrible, but I mean, I did expect more from him. In 4th, here in Singapore, Lando Norris had a excellent performance in today's elimination tournament. He was 8 tenths off the pace, and it just doesn't look like he put in a good lap in Singapore. He was 8 tenths off the pace. Nothing really too much else to say, but he did show great speed throughout the entire tournament. I'm sure if you were paying attention, you'd see that Lando Norris was up there pretty much all the time. Same with all the other guys who are up here. You know, you got to be consistent, but you also got to be fast. So good job, Lando, for finishing in 4th. In 3rd, we have George Russell, 7.5 tenths off the pace here. Just wasn't a good lap for George here in Japan. I did expect a lot. I expected a lot from George. Top 3 was probably maybe like the highest I probably would have put him. My predictions before this were obviously Verstappen, Leclerc, and Hamilton, but having George in 3rd, I mean, would not be surprised if, he won the whole thing, because George has excellent pace in the game, and yeah, he finished P3. So now we're gonna move on to the top 2. If you've been keeping track, there is one driver here who I'm sure you guys are gonna be surprised with, and I was certainly surprised when doing this simulation. Finishing in 2nd in Brazil, Pierre Gasly. What a qualifying performance this man put on, and just so consistent throughout the entire tournament. He was only three and a half tenths pretty much off Max Verstappen, who is in number 1. He just put in an outstanding lap, and Gasly's lap was okay, but it wasn't good enough to beat Verstappen. Obviously, I'll talk about Verstappen later, but Gasly finishing P2 in the quali, it's just performance charts. Like, great for Pierre. I'm very impressed on how his AI did in this entire video. Like, all cars are equal, all drivers have the same stats, there's no momentum or anything. So this is overall Pierre Gasly just doing a fantastic job, being consistent enough to just not be last pretty much, and he's finished P2. So good job, Gasly. And that means Max Verstappen is your champion. Honestly, guys, if you were taking a look at anybody in this, I'm sure you would have said that Max Verstappen was going to win. But if you were taking a look at all of the qualifying results, you would see that Verstappen didn't get first place pretty much every single time. In fact, even in Brazil, he wasn't even on pole. It was Fernando Alonso who put a pole lap in. So it's just consistency. That is the most important thing. And then once you get into the top 5, you got to be fast and consistent, and that's just very important. Like, if you want to perform well in these tournaments, just be consistent. You just got to be fast. So guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you guys did enjoy and you want to see more elimination tournaments just like this one, hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends, join my Discord. Link is in the description. And with that being said, see you guys next time.